The restaurant fell quiet in a way that didn't feel natural. Not the comfortable silence of a calm evening, but the kind that comes when something unexpected is about to happen. Heads turned. Forks paused mid-air. And in the middle of it all stood a man in worn jeans, holding the hand of a little girl whose eyes sparkled with nervous excitement. "She's with me," he said softly. But the woman he was speaking to didn't just hear the words, she froze like they had unlocked a memory she wasn't ready to face. Before we begin, take a moment to support the channel. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Stories like this remind us how powerful kindness can be and how one moment can change everything. It had been a long day for Daniel Carter. Between juggling 2 jobs and raising his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, on his own, life rarely gave him a break. His mornings started before sunrise and ended long after Lily was asleep. But tonight was different. Tonight, he had promised her something special. "Are we really going to a fancy place, Daddy?" Lily asked, her small hand gripping his tightly as they stood outside the restaurant. Daniel smiled, even though he felt out of place already. "Yes, sweetheart. You said you wanted to feel like a princess, remember?" Lily nodded, her eyes lighting up. She wore her favorite dress, a simple blue one with tiny white flowers and a plastic tiara that she refused to take off. To Daniel, she looked like royalty. They stepped inside the upscale restaurant, the kind of place Daniel had only ever seen from the outside. The lighting was soft, the decor elegant, and the quiet hum of conversations filled the room. But as soon as they approached the hostess stand, the atmosphere shifted. The hostess gave them a quick glance, then another, longer one. Her polite smile faltered just slightly. "Do you have a reservation?" she asked. Daniel shook his head. "No, but I was hoping we could get a table for 2. The hostess hesitated. "I'm sorry, sir. We're fully booked tonight." Daniel nodded, expecting it. "I understand. Maybe just something small, near the back." Before the hostess could respond, a sharply dressed woman stepped forward. She looked like she belonged in this place, confident, elegant, and clearly used to being listened to. "I believe the table by the window is still open," she said coolly, glancing at the hostess. The hostess looked uncomfortable. "That table is reserved, ma'am." The woman sighed. "Then perhaps we should keep it that way. We wouldn't want to disrupt the atmosphere." Daniel understood what she meant, even if she didn't say it directly. He squeezed Lily's hand gently. "It's okay, kiddo. We can go somewhere else." But Lily looked up at him, her voice small. "But you said tonight was special." That's when something changed. A man sitting nearby had been quietly watching the exchange. He stood up slowly, his expression calm but firm. He walked over, placing a reassuring hand on Daniel's shoulder. "She's with me," he said softly. The room fell silent. The elegantly dressed woman turned toward him and froze. "Ethan," she whispered. Ethan Brooks was not just any man. He was a billionaire businessman, known across the country for his success and for being engaged to the very woman now standing speechless in front of him. But in that moment, none of that seemed to matter. Ethan looked at Daniel, then at Lily, whose eyes were wide with confusion. "They'll take my table," Ethan said to the hostess. "I insist." The hostess nodded quickly, relieved. "Of course, sir." Daniel shook his head. "I can't take your table." "That's not necessary." Ethan smiled gently. "Sometimes, it is." There was something in his tone, something sincere, that made Daniel pause. Lily tugged at her father's hand. "Please, Daddy." Daniel sighed softly, then nodded. "Thank you." As they were led to the table, Ethan's fiancée, Victoria, stood frozen in place. She wasn't just surprised. She was shaken. Because she recognized Daniel. Not the tired man he was now, but the person he used to be. Years ago, before Ethan, before the wealth and the lifestyle, Victoria had been a struggling college student. She had worked 2 jobs just to get by, often skipping meals to save money. And one night, when she had nothing left, not even enough for a cup of coffee, someone had helped her. A stranger. A young man who had quietly paid for her meal, leaving before she could even thank him. She had never forgotten that moment. And now, standing in front of her, was that same man. Daniel Carter. Victoria felt her throat tighten. She turned to Ethan, her voice barely steady. "Do you know him?" Ethan shook his head. "Not personally. But I know what I saw." Victoria looked back at Daniel and Lily, now seated at the table. Lily was smiling again, her excitement returning as she looked around the beautiful room. Victoria took a deep breath. Then she did something no one expected. She walked over to their table. Daniel looked up, surprised to see her approaching. "I owe you an apology," Victoria said quietly. Daniel frowned slightly. "For what?" "For judging you," she replied. "And for something else, something from a long time ago." Daniel studied her face, trying to place her. "You probably don't remember," she continued. "But years ago, you helped a girl who had nothing. You paid for her meal and walked away." Daniel blinked. Then, slowly, he smiled. "I remember," he said. "You looked like you needed it." Victoria's eyes filled with tears. "That girl was me." The table fell silent. Lily looked between them, confused but curious. "You helped me when you didn't have to," Victoria said. "You showed me kindness when I needed it most. And tonight, I almost forgot what that felt like." Daniel shook his head gently. "You don't owe me anything. It was just the right thing to do." Victoria smiled through her tears. "Kindness is never just anything." Ethan stepped forward, his respect for Daniel clear. "You raised a wonderful daughter," he said. Daniel glanced at Lily, who was now happily sipping her drink. "She's the reason I keep going." Victoria looked at Lily, then back at Daniel. "Tonight is on us," she said firmly. "Please don't argue." Daniel hesitated, but this time, he didn't refuse. Not because he needed the help, but because he understood what it meant to accept kindness, too. As the evening went on, the tension in the room faded. Conversations resumed. Laughter returned. But something deeper had changed. Victoria sat quietly for a moment, watching Daniel and Lily. She leaned toward Ethan. "Do you know what's strange?" "What?" he asked. "All the money in the world, and yet the most valuable thing I ever received was something money couldn't buy." Ethan nodded. "Kindness." She smiled softly. "Exactly." At the end of the night, as Daniel and Lily prepared to leave, Victoria approached them one last time. "Thank you," she said. Daniel smiled. "For what?" "For reminding me who I used to be." Lily waved happily. "Bye." Victoria waved back, her heart lighter than it had been in years. As Daniel and Lily stepped out into the cool night air, Lily looked up at him. "Daddy." "Yeah. Was tonight special?" Daniel smiled, kneeling down to her level. "It was more than special," he said. "It was unforgettable." Lily grinned. "I felt like a princess." Daniel laughed softly. "That's because you are one." They walked away, hand in hand, disappearing into the quiet street. Inside the restaurant, Victoria stood by the window, watching them go. She realized something important in that moment. Kindness doesn't come with conditions. It doesn't ask who you are, what you have, or where you come from. It simply shows up quietly, gently, and leaves a mark that lasts forever. And sometimes, years later, it comes back, when you need it most. So the next time you have the chance to be kind, take it. Because you never know whose life you might change. And one day, that kindness might find its way back to you. And when it does, it might just change everything.